This video is called Solving Equations Using Addition and Subtraction. Let's start with some vocabulary. The first vocabulary term, equivalent equations. These are equations that have the same solution. So for an example, 2 plus x equals 6. 3 plus x equals 7. Both of these have the same solution for x. X equals 4. So if I take 2 plus 4, I'm going to get 6. Or 3 plus 4, I get 7. They both have the same solution, and those are what we call equivalent equations. Inverse operations are two operations that undo each other. So for instance, if I have the number 6 and I add 2, to undo this I would subtract 2. So addition and subtraction are inverse operations. Another set of inverse operations might be to multiply or divide, squaring something, or finding the square root of something. So these are all examples of undoing something. We're going to learn two new principles today. The TPSE, which is the transformation principle of subtraction for equality, and the TPAE, which is the transformation principle for addition for equality. Again, all real numbers work for x, y, and z. The first one, if I have the equation x equals y, then I should be able to write x minus z equals y minus z as long as z is the same number. The same as here. If x equals y, then I should be able to add z to both sides of the equation. You can see it here, without changing its equivalence. So let's apply this. Here's an equation. X plus 4 equals 10. Now you could probably imagine what the answer to this one is by doing mental math. But let's do it using the transformation principles. Alright, right now I look at my variable and I say, what's happening to my variable? Well, we're adding 4. What's the inverse of addition? Subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides of this equation. When I say both sides, I mean both sides of the equal sign. So I'm doing the same thing to both sides. Then I'm going to solve it. So on this side, x plus 4 minus 4 would give me x. That's the introductory principle of opposites, 4 and minus 4. Over here, I have 10 minus 4, which gives me 6. So my answer ends up being x equals 6. This right here is the transformation principle of subtraction for equality. The equation's still equal, and I'm using subtraction to transform my equation to find my solution. Here's another one. T plus 9 equals negative 5. Well, what's happening to my variable? I'm adding 9. The inverse of adding is subtracting, so I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. When I say both sides, remember I mean both sides of the equal sign. Alright, t plus 9 minus 9, again, these are opposites, so I'm left with t, equals. Now, watch out for problems like this, where you have a negative and a negative. I'm subtracting 9 from 5. If I add the opposite, I'm really adding two negatives. So negative 5 plus negative 9 gives me negative 14. Which principle did I use? Well, I used subtraction, so that's the transformation principle of subtraction for equality. I use subtraction to undo the addition. Alright, let's do some that have subtraction. U minus 3 equals 6. Right, what's happening to my variable? I'm subtracting 3. What's the inverse of subtraction? Addition. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides of my equal sign. On this side I have opposites, so I'm left with u equals 9. That's my solution. Which principle did I use? The transformation principle of addition for equality. Here's another problem. What's happening to my variable? I'm subtracting 7. The inverse of that would be adding 7. I need to do it to both sides. Opposites, so I'm left with y equals 5. That's my solution. Which one did I use? Well, I added to both sides, so I used the transformation principle of addition for equality. Let's look at this example. A plus 25 equals 16. Start with your variable. What's happening? I'm adding 25. What's the inverse of that? Subtracting 25. Do it to both sides. Alright, because I have 16 minus 25, I'm going to add the opposite. 25 minus 16, I get 9. Remember, 25 was the larger number and it was negative, so A equals negative 9. Now it's your turn. Solve the following equations using the transformation principles for subtraction and addition. Make sure you label them with the TPSE or the TPAE. So for instance, in this one I use the TPSE.